Great. Thank you guys so much for all being here tonight. And thank you to the Ames Public Library for hosting and for co-sponsoring this great event. My name is Jess Calhoun. I'm a mom of 3 very young kids, and I'm also a member of the Ames Progressive Alliance. We have spent the past several weeks really reaching out to everyone, to all of our membership, and asking them, what do you want to hear tonight from the candidates? And tonight, I will be asking 3 questions on their behalf. The first question for our members is the following. Last year, Ames schools saw kindergarten sections with as many as 26 kids per class. Parents and teachers know that smaller class sizes are associated with better outcomes, particularly in kindergarten through 3rd grade. What will you do to prioritize smaller class sizes in our elementary schools? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. That's been one of my primary commitments in this whole campaign. Class size, especially at the K4 all the way up to 3rd or 4th grade, makes the biggest impact on the success of children, students as they go on to middle, high school, and even college. There's study after has proven that. So my commitment is firmly there, not only in the question of, well, where would we cut? That would be my priority to keep them low. But yes, I'd like to see those, especially with kindergarten. 22 is a nicer number than 26, 28 that sometimes some of our kindergartens get to. And that is a commitment that the board is going to have to make. It means finding resources, taking resources away from somebody else or somewhere else and putting it where it needs to be. But it has such a positive impact on the success of those students going forward that I think it's one of the best investments that we can make.
4 years ago when I ran for the board, that was one of the big points that I had, was that it's not necessarily the size of the building, but rather the size of the class that matters most when it comes to instruction. I can tell you that the administrative team of the school district tries very diligently to keep those numbers lower than 25. However, it does occasionally climb above it. The current practice would suggest that if they reach a point where they're running typically 27 to 28 students in a class, they're actually bringing in another teacher on a substitute basis for long-term purposes, and they're waiting to see what happens as the enrollment kind of levels out, because we wax and wane almost daily for the first month of school. And when it's finally determined that there's a necessity there, they will bring that teacher on as a full-time position if need be. And if the numbers drop back down, then the teacher is basically allowed to go back into regular substitute status. I know I've talked with other board members about trying to enact policy on that. And while that's supported, we don't want to do something as a board that locks us in financially to a problem that we can't then address other needs because of. So it's kind of a two-folded question, because our first responsibility before all else is the financial solvency of the district.
Thank you, Jess, for that question. I think, just like everybody said so far, yes, small classrooms are very important, and it's important for learning, it's important for the relationships they have with their teachers to prevent a lot of the issues that we've talked about tonight. Don't have a lot more to add than what the other two said, but I do know that when they did build these new elementary schools, that they have the ability to, the kindergarten class or the 1st grade classes exploding, to be able to add on a little bit on to it, so they have the ability to fluctuate within the building. So I think there's a great moving forward objective that they did when they built these buildings. But yeah, small class sizes, and whatever the board could do to keep them smaller, I'd be supportive of that.
Thank you for the question. It's something we always have to deal with and balance as board members. As Ronnie said, we try to keep kids, our class sizes around 25. For perspective, talking to the board member Gilbert, they're running around 30 to 32 kids. So again, it's good to know exactly where we sit, maybe relative to other districts. I can't tell you exactly where we are compared to the county. One thing I can do is tell you that I know Senator Cornbach is here tonight, and we need to make sure we're advocating to our legislators about supporting K-12 education. We only are given so much money to deal with. We need to balance, okay, how do we balance our teacher pay with student class sizes, with all the different things we're trying to manage. So it's important that we advocate because education is a priority for bringing our kids up, for economic stability within our state. So whatever we can do to push that initiative is a high priority of mine and something I think we can do better. But again, of course, I support lower class sizes. That is a balance.
A little repetitive here, but yes, I do support smaller class sizes, and it is a balance as you're looking at the financial challenges within the district. I will say, reflecting on my own children's experiences at Edwards, a year ago, my then 4th grade daughter was in a very large class, and we knew there was potential that they would divide it into, it was 2 sections, and they would divide it into 3 sections. And they did, about 6 or 7 days into the school year, they did divide it into 3 sections. We had that flexibility because we are in our newly built Edwards school that has the capacity so that we can add another section. I would say I give kudos to our school principal and the administration that worked with him, because this year we're facing it again with another level. However, they have highlighted, they had the class list and they highlighted who might be moved if we need to. And I commend them for learning from those of us a year ago who wondered, where is my child going to be in 2 weeks? To now we can say, okay, this is where you're starting, but you may get moved to this section. And so because of the dynamics of our district and having Iowa State here, we have to have some flexibility at the beginning of the school year, and I'm pleased to say that we do because of the renovation and the new buildings at our elementary level.
Great, thank you all for that. Here's the second question from our members. The Ames School District plans to build a new indoor pool, perhaps in conjunction with the city. Given that the district has substantial capital for construction, but concerns about operating costs, would you support aiming for LEED Platinum certification, this is a green building standard, in order to ensure energy efficiency and thus lower operating costs?
Yeah, we've actually talked about going for some of the certifications, and I can tell you that while we may not be spending the capital to pursue that on paper so that we have a nice little award, that our buildings are actually being made as efficient as possible. We're just not paying the extra to get the actual certifications. Again, that comes back to our responsibility financially with the taxpayers' money. We felt that we could better use that capital to other means as opposed to seeking a fancy award that we could tout. Because again, like I said, we're building them as efficient as we can. We're just not getting the actual document to say that we did. As far as the operation of the pool, you're right. The district can afford to build a massive pool complex, but we can't afford to operate it because operational costs come out of our general budget, and our general budget is for teachers and educating kids. And the more we're spending on heating water and chemical for the water and other things that come into play, that's more that we're losing from our classroom, and essentially it would be counterproductive to the end goal of wanting those smaller class sizes.
Thank you, Jess. That's a great question. I've been to the forums and heard a lot of people talk on this issue, and I think it's been talked about. I don't really know the numbers on how much it would save compared to how much it would cost. And if we do go out there and spend all this money to make it green, in 10, 15 years we'll recoup that, well, maybe that's worth it. And then maybe we'll have to take some short sight on some other stuff. But maybe you want to not, or take a little funds away from places you don't want to that might affect the kids. That's probably where I would land on it. If you want to spend some extra money to do that, would it affect the kids? If it does, then I don't know if I would be in support of it. But if you could find a way to move things around and not affect the kids, I think I'd be right on board with it.
Thank you for the question. I've spent the better part of 2 years trying to deal with this issue. I've had many meetings with the city manager and the mayor about where do we go from here. We've had potential 2 opportunities to partner with a for-profit as well as a nonprofit, and those just really haven't materialized. Again, it comes back to your point of it's expensive for us to operate. We're looking to support 115 kids in extracurricular right now with a pool complex, and it's just trying to figure out how best to approach that. It's becoming more clear to me that a partnership with the city is probably most desirable. I think it's a great opportunity for the whole community to look at, okay, if we have a competition pool in one location, we'd have paired up with a recreational type area right next door, utilize some shared efficiencies there. To me, that's where we're probably going. But again, it's trying to figure out how to best pay for that long term. Right now, we spend about $125,000 a year operating the facility. Our best case scenario goes to $250,000. So again, I'm thinking $125,000 I have to deal with, trying to deal with the balance and everything. So it's a very difficult issue. We did talk about last night about looking at high school that was floated out there. So the capital, again, is probably not the issue, it's just how we pay for that.
Since I'm currently serving on the Parks and Recreation Commission, I've been a part of the conversations on the city side. And for those that don't know, we need a new pool. It's bandaged up well enough that we're on borrowed time here. So this obviously is a big topic of conversation for the school district as well as for the city. From the city's perspective, we are pricing out various options for different basins because the needs for the school district are different than the needs that the city needs in terms of it comes to water temperature and the use of those facilities. So I think that the school district has said they need a partner, and what does that look like? The city is doing their research. Once they do their research, that will then develop into what are the specific conversations in terms of are there energy efficiencies so that we can do. Those are a part of the conversations that as we move forward in the process on the city side, then the school district will be able to look at and then identify if there's some partnership opportunities or not.
I'm a swim dad. I'll let you know that right away. But from that perspective, I've seen the struggle that our community has had with a facility that doesn't meet the needs of the community. And when I say community, I'm saying it doesn't meet the needs of our high school, it doesn't meet the needs of the rest of the citizens of the city, it just doesn't do it. So we're going to do something. Hopefully it's going to be some type of a cooperative effort with this city continuing that relationship that's been going on for several years. I support that. I think it's the best thing for our community to do that. But we also need to keep discussing, and for those that have some concerns about that, and keep them involved with the discussion. To answer the question point blank, yes, I would very much support the energy efficiency LEED standards. The hospital just finished their projects using those same standards. And we've talked about the operational difficulties of the school district having to run at the pool afterwards. That's how you save money, by building and making the investment into those LEED certifications that reduce your long-term cost afterwards. That could be done. That's what we should investigate and use, not all of them, but the ones that definitely are going to give us the biggest bang for the buck. Good?